Sagittarius, your dad in heaven has an urgent message for you. There are messages that do not arrive through sound, but through sensation. A sudden stillness in the air, a warmth at the center of your chest, the feeling that someone somewhere is standing just behind the veil, watching you with love too big for words. If your soul has felt this lately, it is no coincidence. You have been reaching across worlds with your longing, and now something sacred is reaching back. This message is not for your ears. It's for your spirit. A quiet signal that the one you've missed, your father, your protector, your guide, is still with you. Not in the way you remember, but in the way your soul has always known. He has traveled beyond this life, yet today he returns, not in body but in energy, to say what was never said, to protect what others could not see, and to place something luminous in your hands. A truth, a key, a blessing. Sagittarius, you've walked through fires alone. You've held your strength like armor, but in the silence, your soul has often cried out for someone who understood you before the world expected you to be strong. That someone is here now. If your heart hears what your ears cannot, let it respond. Like this video as a sacred ritual, share it with someone who still believes in divine connection, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom so you never walk this path alone again. What's coming next is not just a message, it's a miracle. Gate 1, the father who never left, and the protection you never knew you had. Sagittarius, there are forms of presence that defy logic. There are kinds of love that survive even death. And there are moments, silent, weightless, when something unseen touches your spirit so deeply that you know it cannot come from this world alone. This is one of those moments. What you are sensing is not your imagination. It is memory returning from a place beyond memory. It is your father's love, re-entering your life through the quiet places where your soul still remembers his voice. There was a Sagittarius man I once met. His name was Julian. He was bold, full of wit, an adventurer in every sense. But behind his laughter lived a silence. His father had died when he was 12, and though he rarely spoke of him, I could tell the absence was not empty, it was sacred. He told me that sometimes while hiking alone, he would stop and feel an overwhelming presence. "It's like he's walking right beside me," Julian said, "and I never feel fear when he's near." I nodded because I've heard that before, from healers, from skeptics, from grieving children and grown warriors. The presence of a father doesn't end at the grave if the soul bond was real. It shifts form, and sometimes it grows stronger. Sagittarius, your father may not have always had the words. He may not have known how to love you the way you needed. Or perhaps he was your hero, present, kind, steady, but his absence still carved a hollow in your world. Whatever your story, there is something he never stopped doing. Watching over you, especially when you didn't know you needed it. Especially when the world became too loud, too harsh, too unkind. And today, through this moment, through these words, he's reaching out again. Not with guilt, not with unfinished apologies, but with protection. I see him now, standing just behind you, one hand placed gently over your shoulder. Not to guide you, but to ground you. Not to speak, but to assure you that you were never alone in the fires you walked through. He saw every tear you hid, every moment you chose grace over bitterness, every time you gave when you had nothing left. And more than anything, he saw how you kept your heart soft in a world that tried to turn it to stone. That, he tells me, is what makes you the strongest soul he has ever known. He shows me a sword, but it is not drawn in anger. It is a silver blade, glowing at the edges, designed not for battle but for clarity. Your father is cutting ties, not with people but with energy, with the invisible strings that have tried to control, confuse, and drain you. You have been surrounded, Sagittarius, by those who wore the mask of love while carrying the seed of envy. And your generous heart, so open, so trusting, could not see through the disguise. But your father did. And now he is stepping in. You may feel it already. A strange lightness, a peace you didn't earn but suddenly deserve. That is his doing. A shield has been placed around your energy, not to isolate you but to filter what reaches you. Those who approach you with anything less than truth will begin to fall away, not because you force them out, but because they no longer have permission to access your spirit. This is divine protection, not as superstition, as sacred justice. And Sagittarius, your father doesn't want you to rise right now. He doesn't ask for action. He asks for stillness. The world may push you to fix, to forgive, to explain. But your father whispers, "You've done enough." He doesn't need you to be strong today. He wants you to come home to yourself, to that child who used to stare at the stars and ask questions no one else could answer. He wants you to rest, to breathe without bracing, to allow yourself for once to be the one held. He's proud of you, not for what you've done, but for who you stayed true to, for the moments you loved when it wasn't returned, for the nights you kept believing when everything in your life fell apart. He says you've inherited not his name, but his fire. And now that fire is being restored, not through suffering but through grace. I want you to know this. The ache in your chest, the pressure you sometimes feel around your shoulders, the way your body tenses when you're alone, that is not anxiety. That is memory. It's your spirit remembering what it feels like to be protected. You have spent so long carrying others that you forgot how to be carried. But he remembers. And he is reminding you now that the love you longed for never left. It was simply waiting for you to become still enough to feel it. There is a difference between being watched and being seen. And your father sees you. Not just the strong parts. Not just the survivor. But the moments no one else witnessed. When you cried in silence, when you questioned your worth, when you considered giving up. He sees the invisible battles. The ones you don't talk about. And he sends this message not to reopen your wounds, but to bless them. He showed me something else, your heart, wrapped in light. A light that pulses not with force but with faith. He says you have inherited the gift of vision. Not to see the future but to feel what's real. Your intuition is awakening again. Not the loud instincts of fear, but the quiet knowing of truth. You will begin to sense who is safe, where to go, what to release, not through logic but through resonance. And in this moment, if you feel something stirring within you, if a warmth rises to your eyes, if your breath feels heavier and lighter at the same time, know that it is him. His spirit, his prayer, his blessing moving through your energy field like a breeze from a world you cannot see. You are not crazy. You are not imagining it. You are being loved across dimensions. And that love is not soft. It is fierce. It is active. It is divine. Sagittarius, your father walks with you still. And today he comes not to demand but to deliver. A message. A healing. A return. The light around you is not coming from the world. It is rising from within you, triggered by the eternal connection between your soul and the one who loved you before you even arrived in this world. This is just the beginning. He has more to say. And in the next part, he will show you what you've forgotten, what you're reclaiming, and what miracle is already unfolding because of the love you carry in your heart. Date 2: Unspoken memories, unfinished healing, and the Father's long-awaited confession. Sagittarius, there are memories you carry that no one else knows about. Moments tucked away so deep inside you, even you sometimes forget they're there. Until something stirs them. A scent, a sound, a dream, and suddenly you're transported to a time you've tried to forget, or perhaps never fully understood. You were younger then, maybe just a child, and though the house may have been full of voices, of movement, of ordinary life, you often felt like a guest in your own story. It's not that your childhood was entirely unhappy, it's that you often had to be older than your years. You watched things, held things, understood things long before anyone expected you to. You sensed tension before anyone admitted it. You felt when love was forced, when affection came with conditions. You didn't always have the words, but your soul was listening. And in the middle of all that, there was your father. Whether present or absent, gentle or guarded, loving or complicated, he was the figure you longed to reach but couldn't always touch. Sagittarius, there is something your father never said. And now, from a place beyond this world, he is asking to say it. He begins not with explanations but with confession. He says, "I'm sorry." Not as an apology rehearsed but as a release. "I'm sorry I didn't know how to be soft when you needed softness. I'm sorry if I left the room when I should have stayed. I'm sorry for the times you looked at me with questions in your eyes and I had no answers to give. I thought I was protecting you by being strong, but I didn't realize how alone you felt standing beside me." He shows me images, not dramatic moments but quiet ones. You sitting at the edge of the hallway, listening to voices behind a closed door. You in your bedroom, staring at the ceiling and wondering if anyone would notice if you disappeared. You watching him walk past you without seeing how much you needed him to stop. He says, "I saw it all. I just didn't know how to reach you then. But I'm reaching now. You were always strong, Sagittarius, but not because you wanted to be. Because you had to be. You became the emotional anchor in a world that didn't offer you one. You stayed cheerful for others, even when your heart was tired. You offered peace to those who didn't offer it back. And your father, wherever he was, however he was, he felt the cost of that. Even if he couldn't express it while he was here. He wants to say that his love never stopped. Even if he failed to show it. Even if his silence left scars. Even if he wasn't there at every moment you needed him. He says, "You were my pride, even when I didn't know how to say it." And now from the other side, he is weaving that pride back into your soul. Not as a weight to carry, but as a shield to protect you. The memories may be surfacing now. Not to hurt you, but to be healed. You may remember the birthdays that passed without celebration. The accomplishments unnoticed. The tears you wiped before anyone could ask. But with each memory comes something new. Understanding. Your father was not perfect. He was a soul learning, stumbling, trying. And now he's free of the burdens that once blinded him. From where he is now, he sees everything clearly. And what he sees is that you were the light in a house full of shadows. He speaks of a moment, perhaps you were 12, maybe 16, when you almost told him everything. When you stood in the doorway, your heart aching, but said nothing because you didn't believe he could hold what you needed to say. He remembers that silence. It's haunted him for years. And now he says, "You don't have to explain anymore. I know everything now. This is not about blame. This is about release. You have carried the question for so long. Why didn't he see me?" And now you understand it wasn't that you were invisible. It was that he was afraid. Afraid to face your brilliance, your sensitivity, your depth. Because it reflected everything he hadn't yet made peace with in himself. But now, on the other side, there is no fear. There is only reverence. He holds your childhood gently now, not to rewrite it, but to bless it. He places light on your younger self's shoulders and says, "You were never meant to carry so much. And yet you carried it all with such grace." He wants you to know that the strength you built was real. But it does not need to define you forever. You don't have to be the strong one every day. You're allowed to cry, to pause, to be held. He says, "You were always worthy of gentleness. I'm sorry I didn't teach you that." And in this moment, something begins to soften. Perhaps it's your shoulders. Perhaps it's your chest. Perhaps it's the space in your throat that has held back too many words. Let it soften. Let it open. Because this message was never meant to be an echo from the past. It's a message for now. For the Sagittarius adult still learning to trust their own softness. He shows me an image, you walking toward a river. You stop barefoot watching the current. You hesitate. Then slowly you step into the water. It's not cold. It's welcoming. The river doesn't rush you. It holds you. And your father's voice returns, not with instructions but with a single phrase. Let it go. You were never meant to carry it all. And in the letting go, something rises. Not grief, not guilt, but grace. Grace for the child who kept it together. Grace for the teen who never asked for help. Grace for the adult who's still healing. Grace for the heart that still beats with hope. This is the confession you've waited for, not with bitterness but with quiet longing. And now that it's here, you are free to step into a new chapter. One where you don't define love by what was missing, but by what is possible now. He sees you, he honors you, and he is walking with you still. Gate 3, Divine Protection, Reawakened Intuition. And the door your father is now opening. Sagittarius, there are times when you've doubted your strength, not because it wasn't there, but because it felt unseen. There were moments when your instincts whispered something to you, but you silenced them to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to stay where you were expected. You've second-guessed your knowing, questioned your feelings, even dismissed your dreams as unrealistic. And yet, there was always a flicker, a pulse, a soft nudge in the back of your mind saying, "There's more. Keep listening." Now your father from beyond this life is stepping forward not just to offer comfort, but to awaken what has long slept inside of you. Your intuition, your birthright, your ability to hear the divine and trust it without needing permission. He says, "You've asked the world for signs, but the sign is you. The knowing was always inside you. You just needed someone to remind you to believe again." Sagittarius, You've always carried the fire of truth. But somewhere along the path you learned to hide it. You toned yourself down in rooms where your light made others uncomfortable. You let go of opportunities because your spirit felt too different, too bold, too fast. And in doing so, you forgot how to trust that original spark, the one that knew what was sacred even when no one else did. But now your Father is surrounding you with something you haven't felt in a long time. Holy protection. This protection is not about escape. It is about permission. Permission to be as you are. To say no without guilt. To change your mind without explanation. To walk away from anything that costs you your peace. It is a boundary blessed by heaven itself. You may have noticed things shifting already. People leaving. Confusion clearing. Old fears surfacing, not to paralyze you but to be released. That's not chaos, it's alignment. Your energy is recalibrating to a new frequency, one that can no longer hold what isn't honest. And your Father is helping facilitate this shift, not as a distant guide but as an active protector. He showed me a silver net being cast around you, woven of light, memory, and divine will. He whispered, "No harm can pass through it now." This net filters out manipulation. It dissolves projection. It catches every lie that once penetrated your heart like arrows. The truth remains. Only truth. Only love. Sagittarius, have you been feeling a sudden stillness lately? As if the noise around you is fading? That's because your soul is entering sacred space. You are walking closer to yourself than you ever have before. And your Father, from his place in the unseen, is illuminating your path with markers only you can recognize. Numbers that repeat, dreams that feel too real, moments of clarity that arrive like lightning. This is the language of divine love. Your Father says, you no longer need to fight for clarity. It's already within you. He is guiding you not just toward answers, but toward a life where questions themselves become sacred. You don't need certainty to be safe. You only need alignment. He speaks of a door, a large one, golden and ancient. You've stood before it before, but you hesitated. You knocked gently, but no one answered. You believed the silence meant not yet, so you turned away. But what you didn't realize was that the door didn't open because it was waiting for your energy to match what lies behind it. And now it does. Your Father turns the key. You feel it, don't you? That subtle shift in your chest. The pressure lifting. The breath deepening. That's the moment of return. You are not just walking into something new. You are walking back to what was always meant for you, but was delayed by pain, distraction, and fear. He says, there is something behind that door that belongs to you, a piece of your soul you abandoned, a gift you forgot, a relationship divinely orchestrated. It's all there, waiting. And with this he reminds you, your soul came here with a mission, not to suffer but to awaken. And this is the moment of awakening. The dreams you've hidden in notebooks, the talents you dismissed because they weren't practical, the wild ideas you were told were foolish, those are sacred. Your Father is now guiding them forward, not through force but through momentum, the kind of momentum that builds silently, then bursts like spring after a long winter. He shows me a compass with no markings, just a glowing center. He says, they told you to follow direction, but I tell you, follow resonance. What feels warm? What makes your eyes shine? That is the map. That is the path. And perhaps now you're wondering, will it work this time? Will I be supported? Will I be seen? The answer is yes. Because this time you're not walking alone. You are walking with a force beside you, a Father who no longer carries human limitations. His presence is not bound by language or time. He walks with you in dreams. He moves through the wind that brushes your cheek. He is the reason the right message finds you at the right moment, why the storm holds off just long enough for you to breathe. You are being guided. And more than that, you are being watched over. This kind of protection does not prevent pain, transforms it. This kind of guidance does not hand you every answer. It awakens the voice inside you that already knows. Your Father reminds you, your sensitivity is not weakness. It is your compass. The times you cried without knowing why, the way your body stiffens in rooms where something feels off, the dreams that repeat, the words you've spoken and felt echoed in your chest for hours, those are not coincidences. That is the ancient intuition you were born with. And now it's being activated again. He shows you a lantern. Small, quiet, but powerful. And he says, you don't need a torch anymore. You only need this one light. Keep it close. It will show you everything. So Sagittarius, as you continue walking through this season of change, hold that light. Let your heart lead. Let your breath slow. Let your intuition rise. And above all, trust. Not because it will always be easy, but because now heaven is walking with you. And your Father is leading you home, not to the past, but to the place your soul has always belonged. Gate 4. A sacred new beginning. And the love that was always destined to find you. There is a moment, Sagittarius, when the soul no longer seeks permission. When the longing to return to wholeness becomes stronger than the fear of being misunderstood. That moment is now. You are standing before a threshold unlike any you've crossed before. Not because you haven't faced endings. You have. Not because you haven't survived loss. You've lived through more than most could ever comprehend. But because this time it's not about survival. It's about arrival. You are not escaping something behind you. You are finally walking into what was always meant for you. And your Father, your eternal witness, your guide and spirit, is the one holding the gate open. He shows me something luminous. A key of light, gently forged in silence and memory. A symbol of everything you've endured. Every prayer you whispered into the dark. Every act of kindness no one acknowledged. He holds it out, not with solemnity but with reverence. This belongs to you now, he says. It always has. This key unlocks not just a door, but a destiny. One that has waited patiently through seasons of heartbreak and silence. You may have thought it was too late. That you'd missed your chance. That your heart was too tired, your spirit too worn. But your Father assures you, nothing written in divine timing ever arrives late. The light you carry has always known the way. And now that way is clear. Behind that gate lies a life not of perfection but of peace. Not of performance but presence. A life where love no longer comes in fragments. Where you don't have to shrink to be accepted. Where your laughter echoes without guilt. And your rest is not earned through exhaustion. This life is not a reward. It is a restoration. A return to your original vibration. The one untouched by trauma, untouched by conditioning. The one you came here to remember. Your Father begins to show you what is waiting. First, a love. Not the kind that tests you. Not the one that demands your healing to begin. But a love that honors the healing you've already done. A love that doesn't arrive as fireworks, but as recognition. A soul who looks at you and sees everything you've survived and stays. Someone who doesn't fix you because they see you as whole. Who doesn't ask you to explain because they already understand. A love that speaks the same language of energy, spirit, silence, and truth. He says, you don't have to fight for it this time. You don't have to overgive. You don't have to question whether you're too much or not enough. This time love will meet you at your frequency, not your wounds. And this love, it will activate something long buried. The part of you that believed in joy without cost. The version of you who used to dream wildly. The inner child who once danced under the sun without needing a reason. They will return. Not to escape the past, but to build something new with you. Your Father is orchestrating this meeting. Not with force but with precision. Every delay you've experienced, every closed door, every almost that never became forever. It all cleared the way for this soul to find you. Not as a seeker, but as a mirror. You will not have to chase this. It will unfold naturally. It will feel like remembering. It will feel like finally. But that's not all. Your Father places something else in your hands. A vision. A dream you once had but set aside. Maybe it was a talent, a calling, a desire you tucked away because life got loud and heavy. He says, it's time to return to it. You are ready now. And as you touch this dream again, you'll feel something unfamiliar ease. The struggle that once surrounded it will no longer be there. Because you've changed. Because your energy has aligned. Because your heart now believes you are worthy of receiving with grace. You may begin to notice ideas arriving faster. Synchronicities stacking up. Conversations that open doors you thought were long closed. This is the magician's path. Not manipulation but manifestation. Your Father smiles as he says, you no longer need to convince the universe. It is already responding to you. And then the chariot, a symbol of movement, of momentum that cannot be stopped. Your soul has made its choice. There is no going back to old versions of you. No returning to places that demanded your silence. No more apologizing for your depth, your dreams, your voice. The road ahead is not straight, but it is blessed. And you will not walk it alone. Because your Father is not simply watching from a distance. He is walking beside you. Not to interfere, but to illuminate. Every step you take toward your truth, He strengthens. Every decision you make from intuition, He affirms. Every time you choose love over fear, He rejoices. And when you stumble, when old patterns call you back, when doubt clouds your mind, He will remind you. You were never broken. You were only becoming. And finally, the cup. The Ace of Cups, the chalice of unconditional love, overflowing from spirit to soul. It does not come with rules. It does not arrive in disguise. Comes openly, honestly, gently. This love, whether romantic, platonic, or spiritual, will heal parts of you you forgot were still aching. Not because it fixes you, but because it doesn't ask you to be anything other than exactly who you are. Your Father says, this is your inheritance. Not just love, but joy, peace, freedom. You are no longer living under the shadow of what you didn't receive. You are now living in the light of what your soul was always destined to become. He shows me one last image. A sun rising behind you. Not ahead of you, behind you. Because now, you are the one leading the way. You are the light. You are the warmth. You are the one others will follow. Not because you demanded it, but because your life will quietly prove that healing is not only possible, it is promised. And so, Sagittarius, take a breath. Not of relief, but of readiness. This is not a new beginning because something ended. It's a new beginning because you have finally returned to yourself. And your Father has never been prouder. Conclusion, He never left you. He walked beside you in silence all along. Sagittarius, if your heart is stirring right now, if your eyes are wet and your chest is full, it's because something inside you has just remembered what it always knew, that you were never alone. Not in the sleepless nights. Not in the moments you questioned your worth. Not in the silence that wrapped around you when no one checked in. Through every shadow, every step, every forgotten prayer, your Father was walking beside you. His love may not have arrived in the form you hoped for, but it arrived. And now it's becoming something you can feel fully, clearly, without fear. You are no longer carrying the ache of what wasn't said. You are carrying the strength of what was always true. That you were loved deeply, quietly, eternally. You have crossed a threshold. This message was never just about comfort, it was about confirmation. You are protected. You are being guided. You are stepping into a life shaped not by survival, but by divine alignment. Love is returning to you, not to test, but to bless. Dreams are stirring again, not to tease, but to fulfill. And your intuition, your birthright, your sacred compass, it's awakening like a star long buried beneath the dust of grief. So breathe, Sagittarius. You've come so far. And now, everything your soul has waited for is beginning to unfold. Not because you've earned it through suffering, but because you are ready to receive it through grace. If this message touched your soul, leave a word, a symbol, or a silent prayer in the comments below. Like this video, share it with a kindred spirit, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom to continue walking with Sophia. And with those who see the divine in you. This is not the end. This is your arrival.